ahead and call this meeting to order. If you would please stand. I want to ask Councilman Buddy Fowler to leave us an invocation.
Thank you, Mayor. Let's bow our heads. Our Father, we come to you today, ask for your blessings on this meeting. Ask you to lead and guide us, Father, as we make decisions that affect our citizens in our town. We thank you for the beautiful days and beautiful weather we've had. Father, thank you for the wonderful world you built for us. We ask you to continue to guide us and lead us. In your most precious name we pray. Amen.
And at this time, Councilman or Mayor Pro-Tem Don Helms will lead us in our pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Well, good morning. We're glad that you're here this morning. We got a very long agenda, and we're going to hopefully work through it as quick as possible. So at this, the first item on the agenda is going to be, first we need to adopt the agenda, correct?
I make a motion we adopt the agenda.
I'll second it.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Adoption of the agenda is carried. Item number 1 is a resolution to set a public hearing for annexation of property 4236-315339-0000, and this is just for the clerk to examine this annexation, and this would just
This would be to set the public hearing, Mayor.
She said a public hearing, okay.
I make a motion we set the public hearing, and that was for our next agenda.
Or it can be consensus, just to
All
go
right.
to May consensus. This is for the, it's 12734 Highway 50, 1.58 acres. It'd be contiguous annexation. It's been to Planning Board, who recommended mixed-use zoning, which is the same for that area. So this is asking to set the public hearing for our June meeting. Just
May or June?
June. We just need
Okay.
consensus, though.
Okay.
Consensus. Is everyone in favor of consensus here?
Yes. I am.
Jeremy?
Good. Yes.
Next, I'm going to call on Melissa,
Excuse me.
our finance director, to please come up. And she actually is going to do items 2 through 9.
Good morning, everybody. Madam Mayor and Council. Before you, we have some American Recovery Act plan policies. To receive our funding from ARPA, we have to approve these policies. They have to be approved before April 30th. They include the eligible use policy, the record retention policy, allowable cost policy, conflict of interest, and non-discrimination. These actual policies were prepared by the School of Government and Carla Malonza. So if you have any questions, I'll be glad to answer them.
As I understand it, these are the guidelines and requirements set down by local government as something we need to do because we've asked to participate in getting these funds, so we just need to go ahead and approve this.
Yes, sir, that will be correct.
With that in mind, I make a motion, we put it on the consent agenda, either approve it now, either one.
These have to be approved, these have to be approved before April 30th because we have to file the report by April 30th. So we need you to actually
This item is
set-
actually a vote.
I make a motion, we approve that fund now.
I'll second that.
Any further discussion? So is there, all in favor to approve the ARPA policies presented by Melissa? If you would please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
Thank you very much.
Madam Mayor, I think technically it should be approve and adopt just for the minutes. So we're adopting those policies. We don't have to do a motion. I just want the minutes to reflect that the approval is the adoption.
The next item on the agenda is a budget adjustment moving funds to the general fund from the ARPA fund. we have chose to use our ARPA funds as revenue replacement, and we will have to remove them from the ARPA fund to the general fund. So this appropriates and approves that move from the ARPA fund to the general fund.
I make a motion, we approve that.
Second.
This is just a consensus that will go on the,
Yes, ma'am, this will actually go on, I'm sorry.
all in consensus of item number 3 of the money being moved from the general fund to ARPA.
Okay,
All right.
Jeremy?
Good. I'm fine.
Item number 4 is actually receiving those ARPA funds, approving and appropriating those ARPA funds into the general fund. It's a budget amendment to complete that step.
This is also just consensus.
Consent.
Yes, ma'am.
I consent.
Buddy, you good?
Yeah, ma'am.
Jeremy?
Item number 5 is a budget amendment to approve and appropriate funds in the general fund to move to the mainland park fund to begin those different phases of construction over at the new park. And this is also consensus.
I consent.
Item number 6 is a budget amendment in the mainland park fund to receive and appropriate and receive those funds from the general fund.
Approve.
All good. Moving right along, Melissa.
All right, number 7, with the construction of the town hall, you originally planned to take a loan out, and we decided to pay for that out of our appropriated general fund balance. So it will make no change in your fund balance, but we have to generate a budget amendment from Fund 10 to the town hall project to close that out. So budget amendment number 7 approves and appropriates those funds to go from general fund to the town hall fund.
I approve. Jeremy?
Number 8 is the budget amendment in the town hall fund to receive and appropriate and approve those funds from the general fund.
I approve.
And this should close out our project in the upcoming budget.
I'm good.
And number 9 is your tax releases for the month of March, your releases and discoveries that are sent from the 2 counties, Onslow and Pender.
I approve that.
Okay.
Jeremy?
Good.
Jeremy?
Yes, I said yes.
Yes.
That's it for me for now. Thank you very much.
Thank you. James Horn will come up and Emergency Operations Plan Review.
Hopefully I can be as quick as Melissa just was there. That was good.
You set the standard for you.
Yeah. I always fall behind all the heavy hitters sometimes, you know? Good morning, Madam Mayor and Council. In your packet, you have a copy of the Draft Emergency Operations Plan, or the EOP, for your review and consideration. Just for a little bit of background, the EOP is the base for our all hazards planning package. So all of our other plans that relate to incident response or recovery, preparation, et cetera, all kind of rely back on the EOP as a base. The EOP does serve as the legal document of record for actions to be taken during large-scale or expanding incidents. It's standard practice across the board. EOPs are that document. So, the plan has been updated to meet new federal guidance, recommendations, and requirements, and to also reflect updated town information such as the current census numbers, critical infrastructure additions, and departmental specific information. I was able to meet with all the department heads or representatives from all the departments to get their input, so all of their department-specific areas are current and up to date. No formal action is required today. I just request that you review the document, get back to me if you have any questions or comments, concerns, anything like that, and then we will revisit in May for any future discussion, or hopefully we can go ahead and get it adopted as close to hurricane season as possible. So that's kind of my goal there.
Had an opportunity to read it.
It's a part of our agenda. Is there any
Why can't we move on it today?
Do we need to move on it today?
It's entirely up to the board. If the
I don't
board is
have any
comfortable with
questions
it, then
I don't have any questions.
Why don't we adopt it? I make a motion, we adopt it.
I second it.
works too.
So we have a first and a second to adopt the Emergency and Operations Plan Review. Any further discussion?
Nope.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. We are approved to the Emergency Operations Plan Review.
Cool.
Mr. Fowler, you did see that it did says you have to drive the brush truck in a fire and emergency. You understand?
We're modifying the brush trucks, that's no problem.
Yeah, okay. So,
Okay, your number 11 is the National Incident Management System Readoption.
That's right, Madam Mayor. So several years ago, at least over a decade, the NIMS framework kind of came out. Those on the board at the time will remember it was a real big push across the country to adopt the NIMS, the National Incident Management System framework. We did that. However, since we have reached 100% staff compliance with training as far as NIMS compliance goes, and with the EOP that was just passed and the updates there, would like to kind of reaffirm our support and adoption of the NIMS framework as our incident management system here in town. There is a draft amendment there in your packet. Standard cookie cutter wording. It's what the state uses.
I make a motion, we approve it. We've already got 100% compliance, so we need to adopt it.
I'll second it.
Approve
We were gonna, you want to move forward with adoption today with a vote and not a consensus?
It's at the board's pleasure, either or.
I would adopt it.
So I had a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Your motion is carried to adopt the National Incident Management System readoption.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Simple, wasn't it, James?
Thank you. This time David Price will come forward and he's going to handle the next 6 items.
Morning, Council. Madam Mayor. Number 12 is the Stormwater Feasibility Enterprise Fund project. This does not have to need a vote today, but I would like to have it on consensus. We did get the approval letter for the last few funds that we applied for. This needs to be set up in a separate project for accounting reasons, and that's what this project ordinance does. Like I said, it's up to the council if they want to vote for it today or put it on consent for.
Don't we go ahead and vote?
We need to get that done.
Yeah, I approve it. I make a motion, we approve it.
Second.
I appreciate that. Next 3 items are
There is
tied.
excuse me, there is a motion to approve and a second the Stormwater Feasibility Enterprise Fund project. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Your motion has carried for the Stormwater Feasibility Enterprise Fund project.
I do appreciate that. Next items 13, 14, and 15 are tied together. This is this town applied for a federal appropriation to build a new EQ basin, which is the next phase in our plant expansion. We do not know if we are going to be granted that, but we want to be ready with design plans for if we are. And the the project ordinance, the budget ordinance amendment, and the engineering contract is in your packet. Each of these would need a separate vote if council decides to go forward. I'd be happy to answer questions about the particular project.
And Price, just if you can clarify for the board, what happens if we do not get the federal appropriation for the project?
We will be shovel-ready for the next grant opportunity. If the appropriation doesn't come through, I plan to apply for the DCIP, and there's several other grants available, but they all have contingency saying that has to be shovel-ready. and this gets us to that point.
So basically what this is to prepare for if we get the okay for that.
This gets us through engineering and design. This has us ready that way as soon as the funds get awarded for whatever program we get approved for, we are ready to execute.
I make a motion to approve that.
Yeah, I'll second it.
I do believe we need 3 separate votes.
All right. We'll do number 12 first, and did you make your motion for number 12?
We're on number 13.
13,
so
I mean.
There was a motion and a second
Second.
on the EQ Basin Expansion Project Ordinance. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. And your motion has carried for the EQ Basin Expansion Project Ordinance.
Number 14, do you need a motion also?
Yes.
I don't,
Are we doing all 3?
We have to do them separately.
Oh, we have to do them separate.
I make a motion, we approve it.
Have a second?
I'll second it.
We'll have a motion to accept the EQ Basin Expansion BOA and a second. Any further discussion? All those that approve, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion has carried for the EQ Basin Expansion BOA. Item number 15.
I make a motion, we approve that.
second.
So there is a motion and a second for the EQ Basin Expansion Engineering Contract. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion has carried for the EQ Basin Expansion Engineering Contract.
Appreciate that. Number 16 is a resolution for ASADRA funding. To give you a little background on this, ASADRA is a state funding program that we've utilized in the past to great success. It paid for our Headworks project and is currently paying for our Well 6 subaqueous crossing and North Shore pipe replacement project. It is a very low interest loan. On the current projects, we've got a 0.1% interest rate with 25% forgiveness. We are going to try to seek it again for the brine discharge, which we recently got the permit for. This is just part of the steps to apply for it, which is due May 1, which is a resolution within your packet.
You need a motion?
Yes, sir.
I make a motion, we approve it.
I'll second it.
There is a motion to approve and a second for the resolution of the, how do you say all the letters? ASADRA?
We say ASADRA.
ASADRA funding. Any further discussion? Hearing none, do I have a motion to approve? Or all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion has carried.
I appreciate that. And the last item, number 17, is a recommendation from the public that I've been researching. It's a one-time adjustment. The public, several members of the public have recommended that we adopt something like this, and every utility that I looked at in research of this has something similar. What it does is during a one-time of account, if somebody has a water main break or something catastrophic that's unusual, this allows to town to forgive a portion of the bill down to 125% of their monthly average. Instead of them paying the whole bill, there's no mechanism for us to grant any grace in that situation. This allows for one time during the life of the account to say, okay, you haven't used this yet, we're going to go ahead and cut your break, and you're only paying 125% of your average. This is the strictest version of what I've seen. Some towns bring it down to the minimum. Some places do just monthly average. 125% is what I liked. I think I pulled that off of Cary, if I'm not mistaken. Don't quote me on that. I looked at a lot of utilities when I was drafting this. But this will give the town staff the ability to reduce the bill of a catastrophic event one time in the life of an account. Like I said, it's just something that the public showed interest in, and I wanted to present it to the council, get their thoughts on it, and if we should move forward.
Is this just like a water main break, or would this be like an underground leak that you might have on your property and not know about it until?
It could be anything. A water main break, it wouldn't count because that's on the utility side. But
A hard freeze where a outdoor shower bust, or,
Yeah, something like that.
This could be even as simple as if you left the house for the weekend and forgot to turn your faucet off, but that's going to be it. And Price and I had looked at this, and I think it's very gracious for the town to consider. We do have a one-time adjustment in regards to like a outdoor shower pipe that busts where the water's not going into the sewer system. So this would be on top of it. Ultimately, I was comfortable with the conservative approach that Mr. Price had proposed here, and this is what the recommendation had come from staff.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought we had something in place in the years past. It may not have been in writing or in ordinance, but understanding, I thought that if we had the people that came in that had those catastrophes that happened to them, that we worked with them. If they got it fixed and presented a bill or they had it repaired, then we charged them what the regular monthly bill was and didn't charge them that overcharge. So we tried to work with our residents with that. I don't know if that was a policy or not, but I know that's a practice that we did practice here in town. And evidently what I'm hearing y'all say is you don't see anything in writing anywhere. It's just one of the practices that we did. Is that correct?
No, sir, Councilman. What you're referring to is the adjustment that is in the ordinance that we do practice in regards to water that is consumed but then does not go into the sewer system. So we're doing the adjustment on the sewer portion of the bill, typically, like I was mentioning, like a pipe burst for a outdoor shower. What this adjustment would do is, if that water, like I said, by accident somebody leaves a faucet on, that's not something that we are adjusting right now because of the fault of the homeowner. So this would provide the additional leeway on top of what we are already doing. And we issue adjustments, I would say, on average about once a week in regards to some sort of issue that comes up. So that, again, that's why I had looked at this, and this was on top of what we already do, but it can cover some other oopsies maybe by the homeowner, that if they get that bill for $1,000 for their water, then we can actually do something about it.
If I'm understanding, you're saying basically on the wastewater, on the sewer side, if it goes into our sewer system, which is more expensive than furnishing water is, then that's when it kicks in. It doesn't kick in other than that.
That's correct. Price, if you want to clarify, but
go into that. Like I said, what's currently in the ordinance is if you have a water leak outside for a shower, for example, what we do is if you bring a plumbing bill in showing that it happened outside, it's not a toilet or a shower or something like that, it happened outside, we forgive the sewer portion of that bill because it didn't go into the sewer. But that still leaves you with an extremely high water bill. And if you do have a leak inside, so you got a toilet that's running, and you, like a lot of homes around here, they leave for the season, and it runs all 30 days.
Yeah.
There's nothing we could do for that. There's no sewer forgiveness, and currently no water forgiveness. This opens up an avenue to help those people out. One time.
You want to do it a one-time shot?
One time. This is a one-time oopsie. This isn't, the way this is designed is not for abuse.
we have a way now of tracking, just say over the last week, I leave, you can see if, like, at my home, if you were to look, that I've used an extraordinary amount of water.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, you would get an alert, and I always continue to be impressed with utility billing and the clerk, because if we get that alert, we're notifying the homeowner, and they may not even be here, so then they can dispatch somebody to go fix that problem. So that is at least one sort of fail-safe that is in place to sort of triage the issue if it's occurring. But
I'd like to make a motion to approve this.
I'll second it because it helps our
Citizens.
citizens.
Yes, definitely.
And that's what we're interested in doing. Sometimes these people are not here through the winter, and Ooh, be a
All right,
hiccup.
so we have a first and a second for a one-time adjustment ordinance. Any further discussion? Hearing none, do I, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion has carried.
Thank you.
Thank you. And next, we have Chris Carter with the spring paving project that we're so eager to hear.
Madam Mayor, Council. So, yeah, we have been working on this paving project for a while now. About 3 weeks ago, I sent out the invitations to different contractors to go ahead and start bidding on this. 6 bids were sent, or 6 offers were sent out. We received 4 of them back. You do have them in front of you. Me and Kyle, we sat down earlier this week and we kind of went over them, and we found the one that we like. So I have started the process of getting some reference checks and checking on their quality of work. I was hoping to have that for you today, but unfortunately I have not got all that back yet. But once we do, I will be going back to Kyle just to let him know what I have found out, and then we'll be bringing that back to y'all. After that, once the contract is signed, they will have 30 days to start the project. Once we get the start date and the area they will be starting in, we will be getting that out to the residents so they can plan accordingly for that. And then as they change throughout the town, because we are working on the north end and the south end, we will relay that information to them as well. Do we have any questions on it? I know this is kind of quick, but.
When do you think you'll get the rest of your information back?
I'm having it back the beginning of next week, sir.
Madam Mayor, if I may, I would recommend that we move this to the new business portion of the May meeting. That way we can still talk about it and award the contract. And we have been working with Attorney Eads on getting a standard paving contract so that from year over year we can issue consistency in having the town protected in these projects. But if we can just get this on the agenda for May, then we can give the brief overview and give you solidly who is going to be doing the project and when they're going to be starting.
I'll make a motion, we move it to the May meeting.
Along with that, I'd like for you and Chris to get together and make the recommendation based on the options with the contracts we said that's going to get the most bang for our buck.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yeah, a big part of it is going to be performance and getting the work completed in a timely manner, and that'll be, a primary element that we're looking at in regards to responsibility of the contractor and issuing, the lowest, again, most responsible bid. Because the lowest on here may not be the most responsible, and that's where Chris is doing his investigation now that he has received the bids back.
And again, I was hoping to have them for you today, but unfortunately, they just all the information hasn't come back yet.
We just need an agreement just to put it on as new business.
Yes, ma'am. So yeah, we just want to get it in front of you just to let you see what we have received, the project again, to anticipate in the next couple of months. So.
We look forward to it. Thank you. All right, Kyle, the rest of it's you.
Okay, very good.
You're whooping right along, girl.
Yeah, so the next item on your agenda, staff was requested to investigate the potential of creating a committee separate to work with the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Director to focus specifically on the town's tourism activities, including promotions and special events. The current Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Advisory Committee contains a standing subcommittee that has been meeting regularly and includes 3 members of the Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, and 2 members appointed from the public that are not appointed to the larger advisory committee, Parks Advisory Committee. So I started doing a little research into this, into some older files. I did find that in the past the town had a recreation committee as well as a special events committee. So we were already operating on 2 separate committees. As defined in the ordinance, the Recreation Commission was established through Section 2-102 of the Surf City Code of Ordinances and is the only committee specifically called out by ordinance. And I'll kind of get to that a little bit later. North Carolina General Statute 168-146 provides authority to council to create, change, abolish boards, commissions, similar to all committees, boards, and commissions currently operating in Surf City. So, for example, Beautification Enhancement Committee, Planning Board, Board of Adjustment, Shoreline and Resiliency Committee, etc. This board has the authority to create those committees, get rid of them, change them, however you see fit. So that's essentially, in essence, what 168-146 provides you that authority. Over the past several years, town-sponsored events as well as events hosted by outside entities have continued to grow in both scope and reach. This past year, the town furthered its presence by hiring marketing services to target specific travel areas, looking at attracting additional visitors in the shoulder season or seasons outside of the traditional summer months. So, something that we had been looking for was actual data to sort of evaluate the effectiveness of marketing strategies and or create new marketing strategies that the town had not done before. That firm, I think, has done a good job at looking at specific market areas geographically and then focusing that marketing in those areas to get people to Surf City in those shoulder seasons. The town does have an opportunity to continue to focus on this data targeted approach by evaluating current offerings through shoulder season special events and enhanced marketing strategies. Currently, the staff members delegated to focus on these efforts are the Welcome and Event Center Coordinator and the Special Events Supervisor, which are housed in the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Department and work under the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Director. With the designated staff, it may provide an opportunity to create an additional committee beyond just the subcommittee that has been focusing on these efforts. The committee would be able to further evaluate and provide recommendations back to designated staff for recommendations on efforts to enhance the overall service towards tourism efforts. So in order to accomplish this, the town may consider creating a standalone committee proposed to be called the Promotion, Special Events, and Tourism Advisory Committee, which again can provide recommendations to enhance existing special events as well as develop ideas on potential new special events while maintaining a focus on the town of Surf City's overall vision, review and evaluate public outreach efforts to help identify key audiences, messages, and methods to reach community members and visitors. So, for example, we may want to evaluate certain special events, and are we providing the sort of elements within a special events that attracts our residents. We don't do a whole lot of follow-up on that. We do some, but this committee could be, that could be one task that they could do. If this is the direction in which the town would like to explore, it is recommended that the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Department oversee these 2 separate advisory committees, both with an individual council liaison, as described in the current bylaws of the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Advisory Committee. In order to achieve this outcome, several steps need to occur through council action, which are outlined below. And when I had mentioned before that I would get back to sort of the ordinance portion of this discussion, is that within that section 2-101 that authorizes council to do all of this committee structuring and changing. No other committees were documented through ordinance. However, they are documented through our policy guidebook and handbook, such as beautification. So there is structure in place, and for that reason, my recommendation would be to just go ahead and abolish the ordinance, because it's really not necessary and hasn't been kept up to date. And by council action, you can appoint these committees and change them, and then those actions are then reflected back in the handbook, which only council can modify. So staff cannot modify that handbook without bringing it back to you. If that's not the approach that we go, then my recommendation would be we need to go back to that ordinance and add all the committees that we currently operate under, and any changes to those would still need to come back to council. So either way we want to do it, I think the easiest and cleanest way to do it is just to go ahead and remove the Parks, the Recreation Commission from the ordinance and maintain it as the Parks Recreation Advisory Committee that we currently have. So there would be consistency there. The second would be a resolution to modify the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Advisory Committee to the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, specifically remove responsibilities of tourism-related activities and to focus on park development and programming. And then the third item would be a resolution to create a promotions, special events, and tourism advisory committee. The action is specifically to create the committee. And then once all these adjustments are made, a resolution to re-adopt the committee handbook as amended, provide for the revised and new bylaws for both the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee, as well as a promotion, special events, and tourism advisory committee. So as you'll note in the committee handbook document that's in your package, that does eliminate the standing subcommittees that were created, which include the tourism subcommittee as well as the athletics and maintenance subcommittees. So the Parks and Recreation Committee then could go back and create these temporary subcommittees for specific items that they see fit in the future. So with that being said, you know, if council does want to go in this direction, my recommendation is that we would structure it the same way in regards to the number of individuals that are appointed to the committee with a council liaison, and then a lot of the language within the bylaws and structures would remain very consistent with the Parks and Recreation Advisory Committee. So happy to answer any questions on this.
What do you need first?
What-
That we abolish?
Well, if we want to talk about that, or if there's any questions on, you know, specifically why, then yeah, I mean, the four actions would need to occur, and we would just bring these back, because we didn't develop any resolutions for it. I wanted to have this discussion, but these would need to come back to you in May for an actual vote on resolution and modification of any sort of committee handbooks.
Let me ask a question. This is something that you and Jody's been discussing and talking about and worked on and in agreement with. I know it's something I've spoken to you about. So what we were basically saying in your recommendation is we're going to go back to the regular Parks and Recreation Committee. We're going to do away with the subcommittees that was created by Chad before that. And if we need to add a committee for just tourism and stuff, then we'll add that. The council can add that at any time. And you all have got the logistics worked out as far as the Parks and Rec and the tourism side of it already, basically.
Yeah, so structurally in regards to departmental organization would remain consistent as it is today. I think there is, through Jody and I's conversation, I think there's opportunity to look at that in the future. Right now, personnel-wise, we're not ready for that. And I would not recommend that. I think it's just a little too early. What this would do would maintain your Parks and Rec Advisory Committee, however, remove the tourism element of focus of that committee, and then push any promotions, special events, and tourism focus into a new separate committee, not a subcommittee of the Parks and Rec Advisory. So you'd have Jody's department and then basically her two standing committees is how that structure would look.
And would that still would that tourism area still fall back under Parks and Rec, or would it be separate?
It would still fall under Parks and Rec.
Okay.
You know, her staff members and herself would still oversee that, But as I mentioned before, I think that there still remains an opportunity to further investigate the overall departmental structure and oversight of promotion, special events, and tourism. But due to the, what I'd say, just we've only had staff in those two key positions within sort of tourism for, I joke a combined like 4 weeks. I can't recommend that we make those types of moves, but this time next year, we might bring something back to you for evaluation, or even sooner, because I know that the staff that Jody has hired are very capable and can start looking at this. And if we start getting into this committee and can have defined goals and programs that they're going to work and achieve, that may provide staff direction on work plan for next year and future years moving forward.
And I know we've got people that love to get on committees, and we got some good people here that have some great ideas that can certainly bring some resources and knowledge to the town, which we'll be most thankful for. But based on what you've told and what you've talked about, I don't see any reason why we can't move forward in that respect. As long as you and Jody are working together, it still falls into Parks and Rec. Do that tourism, and if we need a committee, I'm certainly agreeable to put another committee on to handle that and do that, and then it can go back. But I think that we need me personally, I need a clear outline or definition of what you're talking about, how you're going to do it, and that's fine.
We're going to do that at the May meeting.
Yeah, the specific resolutions, and that's why I tried to chart out what these list of actions are, the 4 specific actions that I would recommend that we would take in order to achieve that, because it does modify a certain committee, creates the new committee with the bylaws that have been put into the handbook that are within your packet, and then the last thing would be to amend that handbook to capture everything together.
You and Jody work together and bring it to us at the next meeting.
You got it, and that's
Will come up under new business at the meeting, or
that's up to council. But Carla,
new business?
but Carla would need to. We would need to prepare the resolutions affecting the actions to be taken.
So would this be on the consent agenda, or is it further discussion?
That's totally up to the board what you want to do.
I don't, what is the purpose of further discussion? He laid it out for us. He recommended we do the committee. So what's the purpose of further discussion? Is it resolution for the consent agenda to move forward? So that's what I'm trying to find out here.
I think we just need I want to, and he may have done that and I missed it, but I want a clear cut thing with him and Jody sitting down how they want it, so we know what we're looking at and what we're talking about.
Sure.
We can do that at the May meeting.
What are we doing at the May meeting?
That's when he's bringing the resolutions in paper or put it on our computer, and then in new business, we will approve it
At the May meeting.
at the May meeting.
Yeah, and I'll focus. I can focus that discussion on the specific actions to be taken, because that will need to be broken up into several different actions tied to one effect. So.
Just need a consensus.
Yeah, I just want, real quick, do you recommend that's the cleanest way to do it?
The way that I've laid this out for the list of actions, yes, is my recommendation in which council would take this action.
Okay, and 3 resolutions for that at that meeting.
You would need to have resolutions to make the actual move happen.
Do you need a motion, or do you need a
No, just a consensus from council to put this on the May agenda, and we'll have resolutions prepared.
Everybody in favor of
Yeah, for sure.
consensus for the new business under May meeting?
Are we, I'm sorry to ask one more question. You talked about abolishing that ordinance, that part of the ordinance.
Yes.
Are we gonna, is that part of that, you'll have that also additionally there?
It would be,
Okay,
yes.
good, okay. So it's just one issue. I mean, would be 4 issues all handled.
Correct.
Okay, got it.
That's
Okay.
one element of the overall action per se.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right, Kyle?
Well, in regards to item number 20, I think that gets folded into our discussion that we just had. And I would say
Excuse me.
there's really no action to be taken on that, Madam Mayor. Item number 21, similar in request to the utility adjustment. A presentation was made to the Topsail Island Shoreline Protection Commission regarding the effects and dangers of releasing balloons, specifically the ecological damage they can cause when they eventually end up in our area, creeks, streams, waterways, and oceans. Several draft ordinances were presented that have been modeled on other jurisdictions that have taken certain measures to prohibit these acts. In combination of any ordinance that may be considered, continued education should be published through the TISPC website and other marketing channels. The ordinance presented would restrict balloon releases within the jurisdiction of the town of Surf City. It has been communicated to the town of North Topsail Beach, back to us, that they are not considering the ordinance, but only focus on education. Topsail Beach is going to continue their discussion on the topic at a future meeting date. What the ordinance would provide for is essentially what I had summed up, is that any person, firm, nonprofit organization, knowingly and intentionally release, participate in the release of, and intentionally cause to be released to litter by abandoning and not properly disposing of all waste material, any type of balloon inflated with a liquid air or gas within the town limits, any waters within the zoning jurisdiction of the town or the beachfront. There's a civil penalty that is tied to this. There are exceptions, balloons released by a person on behalf of a governmental agency, meteorological purposes, hot air balloons, balloons released inside a building or structure. There were elements that were presented that included restrictions of the sale or notice within private businesses within town that would acknowledge or let them know about the ordinance. I'm not recommending that we take it to that level. However, we do regularly get calls or requests for balloon releases. We generally tell people that we do not recommend that they do it and try to educate these folks on balloon releases. This would give an enforcement mechanism to the police department should this action occur and we get a complaint about it. So I'd recommend council's consideration of this. There's also things about tying it to a real estate sign to be prohibited. I have not seen that we've had issues or complaints about that, so I did not include that either. So this would probably be more so the organized release of balloons, which I think we all have found are sort of detrimental to the environment. And there are other options for people to commemorate or memorialize, some sort of person, individual, or event other than releasing balloons in our fragile natural ecosystem. So I'd recommend council to consider the ordinance presented.
I think, if I may say, I think this is a good thing. Where I live, we had an instance where two houses, and you know how close the houses are together, somebody from a neighboring development, we never found out who, but I don't know exactly what kind of balloon this is, but it's a balloon that you put a candle in, and the heat of the candle inflates the balloon, and it floats, and people use them for memorials and things like this. Well, these individuals put it out, and my neighbor was sitting at her kitchen table, and between her house and the next house, a balloon floated right by her window. The air current took it from where it was. It was
That
released.
happens and 4th of July, and they're a danger. They end up in the forest. They
Well, you
end
just-
up
you know.
anywhere, and they can catch fire.
With the history of our street, it was really disturbing to the individual because it was a flame floating through the air. So I think it's a very good ordinance, and I would encourage it.
I just want to address that. Those are called sky lanterns, and they are illegal in North Carolina to actually put up a sky lantern anywhere in the state. So
Yeah.
just to let you know that.
Well, it makes sense because it's a burning flame, you know, and people say, well, they, you know, eventually go out, but, you know, they could rest on somebody's deck. If they're not home, it could rest anywhere. But,
I agree with you, John. I just want to, I know that for some reason, governments love to create more laws. And so I see in here the $250 be recovered by the town. I want to be very mindful of being very quick to give somebody a $250 citation because a kid released a balloon accidentally. There has to be some common sense here. So I want to, I'm not ready to approve this today. I think we really need to talk about this more and really dig into this because this could become problematic for us in the future. And I just want to, I'm okay with, I think that it's not a good thing to do, but what if your neighbor, the 5-year-old releases a balloon, somebody sees it, they go and they're going to give that kid his birthday party $250 citation, your neighbor, because accidentally it happened. So what is the, I mean, where's the, you know, is there?
I think accidents do happen. I mean, we'll have, for example, a small child on a dune and, you know, that child doesn't know. And I've seen before to where, you know, someone will go up and ask that child to come off the dune and not give them a fine. Hey, this is a warning, stay off the dune. I don't think anybody as far as intentionally, I mean, there are some groups that are just not mindful. Hey, we're going to go buy 100 balloons. We're going to, after our wedding, we're going to let them all go up in the air.
Which I think is stupid, by
Which
the way.
is,
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely.
so when you look at, you know, just one balloon, because I have opened my car door before and got balloons for a birthday, and one has, you know, accidentally like slipped out of my car and just floated up. I haven't intentionally done it, and I think that's the way a lot of people are going to view this. If you're buying hundreds of balloons to release, it's not okay. I was actually surprised that being so close to an Air Force base that, you know, there isn't some type of ordinance already that, you know, you send up 100 balloons and then they get, you know, caught up in a helicopter or, you know, something that could cause damage in the.
I think that, you know, a warning would be in order. I mean, if you have a child that releases one balloon or two balloons, but, you know, that would be like a warning situation, discretion of the police officer. But, you know, if you find an instance where somebody's released 25 or 100 balloons or 50 or 10 balloons, or these floating candle thingamajigs, that should not be, that shouldn't be put into the realm of a warning.
I think he can explain that in
So
his logic.
my police officers are not going to cite someone accidentally releasing a balloon. If a child releases a balloon or the birthday party where one balloon or two balloons is released, we're not going there to write somebody a $250 ticket. And like you said, if there's an organized event and they release 150 balloons for a wedding, it's a little reckless, and we would probably then issue a $250 ticket. We're not out there to just give people tickets. We'd rather ask for compliance, get that compliance from them, and inform them of the law so that we can, you know, obviously keep balloons out of the waterways and keep our animals safe and keep pollution down. But we're not out there we're not going to go write a family a ticket for one balloon getting
I'm not
loose.
writing the ticket, so I wanted you to be on record saying that. Does that make sense?
My word, we're not going to write something for an accident.
People need to hear that, is what I'm saying.
Right, that's not
Correct,
gonna happen.
absolutely.
With that being said, I would suggest we approve
I'll second.
make the
on
motion
that.
to approve it.
I'll second it.
Thanks, Chief.
Any further discussion? So we have a motion to approve the balloon ordinance along with a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, same sign. Motion has carried for our balloon ordinance.
It's on you, Kyle.
Okay. I'll give my partners in crime, I guess, an opportunity to get their stuff situated. But go ahead and introduce this. Before you is the manager's recommended budget for fiscal year 2023-24. It is my pleasure to present to you the manager's recommended budget for the 23-24 fiscal year. This budget, like others, is influenced by a multitude of factors, including current economic conditions affecting the price of goods and services sought, escalating personnel costs, as well as current economic activity regarding growth and development. Generally, expenditure requests exceed estimated revenues, which require priority setting based on service delivery and goals. This year is no exception. Department heads are commended for their foresight and intimate knowledge of the needs of their departments, as well as how service delivery is impacted based on funding needs. The town has worked in a collective manner to prepare the fiscal year 23-24 budget, which began in late 2022. The process includes the development of capital improvement requests, line item requests, and any other factors that influence the manager's recommendation. The town council's vision and deliberations are greatly appreciated and relied upon to develop the priorities in which we tailor the budget on. The fiscal year budget is generally based on multiple primary funds, which include Fund 10, which is your general fund, Fund 21, your accommodations fund, Fund 30, Water Enterprise Fund, Fund 31, Sewer Enterprise Fund, and Fund 81, Beach Nourishment. Each of these funds have identified revenues to match expenditures, which differ from fund to fund. For example, Fund 10, our general fund, is primarily funded through ad valorem taxes and sales tax. Funds 30 and 31, Water and Sewer Enterprise Funds, are funded through fees collected by providing water and sewer services to residents and businesses. A few of the highlights of the fiscal year 23-24 budget include the following. Continued funding for beach nourishment. A combination of occupancy tax, ad valorem tax, and paid parking revenues will provide for an estimated $3,448,645 to be included within Fund 81. These funds are utilized to continue building the reserve amount in anticipation of the Army Corps Coastal Storm Risk Management Project. Continued investments into public safety. Maintaining a reliable fleet for the police department includes the recommended acquisition of 3 new police vehicles, continued investment into technology to increase our ability to solve crimes, utilizing resources such as tsunami cameras, as well as body camera technology and data storage, computer-aided dispatch for mobile terminals. For fire services, adding 3 additional personnel to continue working towards dedicated ladder truck staffing, full replacement of hydraulic tools necessary for rescue operations, partial funding of a new brush truck, Station 23 upgrades, generator replacement, and Station 25 expansion planning funds. Growth and development, funding to bring development ordinance and technical standards in alignment with the recently adopted comprehensive plan, additional funding for sidewalk and street construction repair, and partial funding for a stormwater position for eventual long-term numerous ongoing capital projects, acquisition of equipment necessary to deliver services necessary for our residents. Personnel, it is recommended that we include a 3.5% cost of living adjustment and 2.5% performance or merit pay based on annual evaluations and factors adopted last year that are included in your personnel handbook. The following is a breakdown of the recommended revenues and expenditures for each fund. Fund 10, the general fund, $17,239,432. Accommodations fund, $3,491,438. Water enterprise fund, $3,326,677. Fund 31, sewer enterprise fund, $4,153,373, and Fund 81, Beach Nourishment Fund, $3,448,645. In total, the town's budget equates to $28,332,888. The general fund expenditures equate to approximately 2.11% increase over last fiscal year. However, it remains anticipated that the town will grow the fund balance by approximately $415,000, which can be attributed to debt balance reserve, which are items that have been removed from the debt service, as well as residual funds from the balance of the fiscal year 22-23. The recommended budget reflects a sound financial vision and plan for the town, And I am proud of the mayor and town council, department heads, to specifically include our finance officer and employees of the town for their stewardship of the public dollar and reinvestment back into the quality of life for our citizens. I am not recommending a property tax increase to cover our expenditures or other service fee increases in solid waste, water, or sewer. So those fees will remain flat. I'm happy to present the budget here at your work session. Should council generally agree on the prepared budget, it will be made publicly available according to statutory requirements, and public hearing will be advertised for your regular meeting in May for consideration of adoption. So with you is the full expenditure and revenue reports for each of those funds. I'd like to go over just a couple of revenues real quick. We'll start with the general fund. So you can see, the taxes current year, $7,509,980. You've got, let's see, on Pender County fire tax, $297,000. Onzo County fire tax, that is a new revenue, at $135,000. Your sales tax revenue at $2.745 million. Electric franchise tax, $400,000. Some other sort of minor tax revenues. We have cut the ABC revenue down to $50,000. We will anticipate some distribution, but not to where prior years have been, even though that number was trending up, and that's due to capital investments that the local ABC Commission is making to construct a new warehouse facility. Anticipated $125,000 in Powellville revenue. One element of revenue that has been performing well, which is our interest investment. So Melissa is able to manage our investments through our funds that sit in the bank. Right now, those are collecting good interest. So we were able to increase the revenue just on the interest received. Let's see, we've got fairly basic flat revenues, welcome center revenues. You have SRO officer reimbursement through the agreement with the county, and we will check on that due to that agreement was based on what they are paying for their deputy. So if they have pay increases at the county, that disbursement will go up. One thing I did want to also highlight in the building permit and trade permit revenue, we are projecting these a lot lower than we have in years past, just because of new development and the restrictions that we have on that in regards to effluent capacity right now. So we want to be very conservative on that and not put something out there that we're not going to achieve. Sanitation revenue at $1.056 million. Parking fees, this is 1.25. Rental at community center, very, very low. Membership fees and passes. Getting into summer camp revenue, those are increased due to some fee adjustments. Again, athletic sponsor revenue going up, but we do have increased expenditures that are tied to that. We've seen some decline in wellness class revenue, so hopefully we'll be able to see that come up, but we budgeted very conservatively on that. But as you can see, there's a general fund balance revenue of $17,239,432, which matches the Fund 10 expenditures. So I can kind of go in to each department, talk about any major cuts. I don't think that we made any major increases, except for under Fund 21, we did include an additional $200,000 in road repair for next year, as well as an additional $100,000 in sidewalk construction to be added onto the typical budgeted expenditures. $50,000 for sidewalk and $100,000 for road repair. So I'm hoping that strategically we can get a bigger project done next year for road repair and get ourselves caught up with our study, and be in a place where we would like to be. In talking about the first cut I'll mention is I did cut 30,000 from the administration budget. I was going to use those funds to do a facilities expansion and needs study. I think our more immediate need is going to be looking at certain facilities such as the community center, Station 25, for those potential expansion projects. So sort of what our goal is going to be is to hire somebody that can come in, provide some plans and cost estimates, and see where we're at with those potential expenditures. And that will give us the tools necessary if we do need to go to the LGC to borrow funds to complete those future year projects. As you'll remember, we talked about, I'll just talk about the community center expansion, but at our retreat, we talked about these large numbers. I think we had put in the CIP about $4 million for the community center expansion. This will give us a hard and fast number, or somewhat within that range, that we then can go out and seek the funds for. And if it comes through grant, opportunities, we certainly would pursue those. But we have found, just as we talked about earlier, without having something in place, it's hard for us to secure those grants. We did not cut anything through governing body. You all remain lean in your expenditures, very much appreciated. HR, there's really no cuts there. Just basic operational expenses to complete that. $8,500 for the upcoming municipal elections for 2019. IT, we had, I believe we had some minor things within there, but understanding, we try to be as efficient as possible in regards to the services necessary to operate. So you did see just a minor reduction in there. Finance is another department that we really is just covering operational costs and salaries. There's not a lot of big projects that we can try to whittle down. So there really wasn't a cut in the finance department. Communications department will be abolished. There's no funding in there, if you'll recall that position, and funding got put back into administration. Emergency management, we did have to cut the requested position here. Also going to work with James on potential different strategies for the drone acquisition. We do have an appropriations request into Representative Smith, which would cover that. So hopefully we'll see the funds from the General Assembly. In total, those were about $350,000, which also covered a new camera for utilities, a UTV for beach patrol, and a couple of other sort of want lists in there. I am recommending that we maintain the vehicle in emergency management. For Mr. Horn's operational readiness. So that's the bulk or majority of those cuts. Legal, as much as I wanted to cut this, we did keep that flat for the new fiscal year.
Which was 17% under budget last year.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Attorney. Public Works Building, this is really just to maintain the facility out at utilities. Nothing major there, $16,000. Facilities and grounds. So what you'll see is a lot of adjustments in facilities and grounds, parks and recreation, as we had reported that we were going to be appropriately assigning expenditures to Fund 21. Which is the accommodations tax fund, because a lot of the expenditures that they, I don't want to say share, but they kind of share responsibilities in facilities that cover recreational areas, to include the beach strand, which it is more appropriate for that Fund 21 to cover those types of expenditures, as it is generally set aside for what we like to call putting heads in beds. So you'll see some changes in some of those things. Police department, again, we had some minor cuts, just looking at prior year expenditures and trying to make those alignments, asking the questions of how we can try and achieve some of the requests through other means. For example, we're going to look at ballistic shield acquisition through the sheriff's office. The primary resource for that is our Surf City Elementary and Middle School. So if we cover the SRO responsibilities, I feel like the sheriff's office should have a little stake in the game in that. So they are seeking opportunities through grants to obtain that. So there's just a minor cut there, but still funding the vehicles as requested, as well as looking at some of the recruitment strategies that Chief Voorhees has certainly talked to y'all about. Fire department, we had to make some, I'd say, substantial cuts to the fire department, not because we don't like them, but just trying to look at other strategies and timing of how we're going to continue to build to the funding levels that Chief Wilson is recommending, equipment and operation needs, et cetera. So you'll see we reduced personnel down to 3, so we are still recommending the 3. That will give 1 additional personnel for the A, B, and C shift, for Station 25 out there. We did try to get creative with the brush truck. We had the discussion about this, and what I asked occur is that we utilize the revenue from the fire truck surplus and sell to cover the difference of that. So you'll see that did get reduced down to $75,000 from the original, I believe it was $125,000. Let's see, we looked at, we do want to fund the generator replacement at Station 23, but want to look for grant funding for generator replacement at 25. We think because that functions as a secondary EOC for the town, that we may have a better shot at funding for that. I reduced the kitchen remodel project from 85 to 25. In hopes that Chief Wilson can work to get some of the fundamental things, the foundational elements of that kitchen moved over. There's some plumbing that would need to be changed to make that kitchen more accommodating. So we can get the project started with that 25. The porch project, that was something that we are going to hopefully be able to take a look at in regards to what is the structural foundation of that porch. It is built with concrete and steel right now. Can we look at going back and evaluating that? We may be able to just put some timbers in there, something that can reduce the costs drastically for that. But at the same time, we are still, as I mentioned before, still funding items such as rescue tool replacement, turnout gear replacement, just some operational things that the fire department needs to continue to execute the high level of response that they do and service that they provide. Also, things like Ocean Rescue Program were put over into 21. Again, this is to benefit the visitors of Surf City and our beaches. Community development, we were not able to fund a vehicle here. However, we were able to maintain funds for the ordinance project that we had broken up into over 2 fiscal years. So as you know, that request for qualifications is out right now. So we're looking to hire somebody to get that project started, and then to continue the funding for that ordinance rewrite and technical standards documents. Streets department, again, a lot of expenditures here were moved into 21, and you'll be able to see that within your documents. And then Powellville funding, again, maintaining some of those funds, moving monies over to where our high pedestrian activities are over on the island. Sanitation, so this is just covering, our contract with GFL, also covering our rollback service for that, so no major adjustments there. Parking, as you know, we go through annually what that looks like and projections. I will report that our March revenues did exceed budget this year, so off to a good start. Recreation Department, we did have to look hard into this. I did cut the funds requested for the comprehensive plan update. I feel strongly we need to get this Earl G project under our belt, get that done, and then move on to getting that update in our draft strategic plan. In our 5-year outlook, we have that as a priority, and I still think we need to do that. But perhaps we can sort of delay that another year or so. Other elements of that, there were 2 positions requested. I did defer those to future dates, tying those back to new park development. One of them was for an athletics position. So when we can start programming out there, then we will have to hire another person to manage those programs. But again, having the facilities and resources, we'll be able to, I don't want to commit to matching the expenditures, but we'll be able to garner additional revenue through sports programs, soccer leagues, lacrosse, whatever it might be that Jody's department decides through advisory of their committee. Let's see. Here you'll see the notes there where we moved certain expenditures over to Fund 21. Specifically tied to the Welcome Center and staff that are there, a portion of the director's salary over to 21. That's really a very high-level overview of the departmental cuts per se and some of the funded programs for next fiscal year in Fund 10.
I asked Melissa, was it, Melissa, about $1 million, was it $1 million error?
A key and error in
Okay.
401K.
Oh, and 401K.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not error.
Okay. To the good or bad?
It's to the good.
Okay, fantastic.
Thanks.
Okay, well, that changes things a little bit, so that makes me happier, Madam Mayor and Council.
Leadership from that.
Let's see, Fund 21, again, I talked a lot about Fund 21. This is generally the revenues and expenditures tied to accommodations taxes. So what you'll see on the revenue side, we did increase revenues based on what our current year and this trend has been showing to match the expenditures for 21. The 2 items that I had previously mentioned and just wanted to highlight is the maintenance and repair to sidewalks to be set at $250,000 for this upcoming fiscal year, and then maintenance and repair of streets at $200,000. This is going to take a big chunk out of our needs and demands. As Chris knows, I challenge him all the time to seek these ways to get projects completed, fill in our gaps, and then also to start considering this East Coast Greenway project that we're going to have come up. That is one project that I would anticipate bringing back to the board mid-fiscal year as we get into a little bit more detail of it and start seeking professional services to start designing and permitting a project to tee us up for future construction. So I do want to give you that caveat for the future. Let's see. Beautification enhancement at 16, we did leave that. We've got a $1,000 increase in mosquito control just by cost of materials. We do contract with the county for that. And I think that they've done a pretty good job. We've done that for the last 3 years now, and they're covering our needs well. We do keep $100 in there to maintain our licenses for that pesticide application if we need to. So Fund 21 grand total at $3,491,438. Fund 30, or Water Enterprise Fund, again, we can predict what our revenues are for that based on monthly billing. So, we have set that pretty flat in regards to the request, $3,326,677. Our Water Enterprise Fund is very similar to the wastewater, so I did not, our sewer fund expenditure, very similar to the water, did not make any changes to that. And then Fund 81, that has been performing well. We'll anticipate revenues of $180,000 from Pender County, $777,540. That transfer from the general fund is the net revenues from the paid parking program. Transfers from the general fund, that's $1.89 million, which is 10 cents of the 41-cent ad valorem tax. So as you can see, that penny on the dollar is generating almost $190,000. So multiplied by 10 gives you that number. And then our ad valorem taxes from transfer that gets sent over. So 3.448 million. When we start looking at this, which is what we anticipated, we set our debt capacity model for the beach nourishment project a couple of years ago. So that penny on the dollar, we have not made that adjustment, but we will make that adjustment, creating a more healthy beach nourishment fund. So we are prepared for this Army Corps project. And I do feel very confident as to where we're at and the timing of the Corps project to be able to get moving on that and not incur debt, hopefully, on it. So fund balance, just wanted to kind of give a quick snapshot. You can see somewhat fluctuation, but over the past couple of years, we have been in a positive trend for fund balance. And again, we would anticipate to grow that by about $415,000. There's a couple of revenues that are still sitting out there. We want to report James out there notified me this week, I believe. He's found an additional $170,000 through Hurricane Florence recovery. So when we get that, we'll see that get put back into the general fund, including a couple of additional Florence projects. So I do commend him for scraping the barrel on that and getting everything that we can. So with that, Madam Mayor, I've presented my recommended budget. I am happy to answer any questions or try to answer any of those questions. Again, personnel things, Lydia continues to do a good job at putting those projections together for departments to include that 3.5% cost of living and 2.5% for the merit pay where that can be paid out. And again, we budget the 2.5% for merit pay, but there's nobody that's getting a full 2.5% because that would require a full 100% on your core competency review and then 100% completion on goals. So we are a little bit liberal on that number, but it will be there and it'll get folded back in a general fund for funds that don't get utilized through the fiscal year. So.
Sir, if I may?
Yes, ma'am.
The King Air under the police department is in the requested. It is not in the recommended, so it will not change the budget. We caught it in the recommended.
Okay, thank you.
You're talking about the 401K? It was requested, it wasn't in the funded, okay.
roller coaster of emotions.
It's always exciting when you think you found
Yeah,
that area
yeah.
that is in your benefit until you
Yes.
start looking and it's like, oh, it's not the right column.
We was wondering what the hell Phil was asking for $1 million more.
Yeah.
Sorry, Phil.
I'll take it.
Take it, yeah. Him and Alan were in the same category.
Yeah. Real quick, I do want to go over the proposed fee schedule, because this is part of your budget ordinance for adoption. We've talked about these things in the past, but the substantial changes within the fee schedule generally revolve around our building permit fees. These have not been adjusted since, I want to say, 2003, Amy, if that's correct. Okay, it's been quite a long time. They did do an evaluation of other jurisdictions. This puts us in line, and we even looked at this in trying to project our revenues with the community development fees or building inspection fees. So that's a substantial fee change that you see throughout pretty much all permits within community development. And then the other side of that is the parks and recreation fees have been adjusted, and a lot of those were to accommodate some of the non-resident fees that we would see in the upcoming fiscal year. So. And then, let's see. Lastly, the pay scale update. So anytime a cost of living adjustment gets implemented, the whole pay scale will get adjusted. So this will show where that adjustment comes in. Also, I've recommended when we did our little mini pay study, generally, when we were looking at police department salaries, I'll go back a little bit. Generally, what we found was some of our common positions that we were able to do a comparative analysis on were pretty much still remained in line. The other one that needed adjustment was our utilities positions. So we have made those adjustments for pay grades, and those have been calculated into the overall operational expenditures within the enterprise fund. So that has been budgeted and has been balanced. So that's the only major changes within the pay scale that you see in front of you. And that, Madam Mayor, would be my conclusion.
We have any discussion on items that were cut, weren't cut?
I think he's done, between Melissa and Kyle, they've done an excellent, and their department heads, they've done an excellent job on this budget. And Lydia and everybody concerned has done an excellent job of cutting back when he asked. And hopefully, if there's no problems, then we can adopt this budget in May. And we'll be ahead of the game.
John, you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions.
Buddy?
No questions, just some of the same thing Don said. The, going back, making sure we got our unallotted funds, continue to build on that, because we got some debt service gonna be coming up down the road we're gonna have to prepare for. And we need to continue to add to that so we don't get below a certain, I think it's 20% state, the rest of them looks at, but we won't stay above that. The other thing, all the people that worked on, I know when it comes to budget time, you get confused sometimes or get aggravated with the situation, because you got your wants and you got your needs, and we try to furnish the needs and as much of the wants as we can. But at the same time, we got to look at our tax rate and what they do and what they don't do. And I think Kyle and his team and the staff here with Melissa and Jody and everybody. Has done a great job in putting it together and taking into fact to provide the best bang for the buck that we've got and doing so. And one of the things that has made this easier process, and we're going, is I can't say enough about all the department heads and the people working in town about seeking grants and seeking funding from those areas. That makes a big difference, not only to our tax rates, but it makes a big difference in what we can do as a council as far as funding your wants, not your needs, but your wants. Because it's easier to fund half of a project than it is to fund a whole project. And it's always nice to have some funding coming in for that. That makes it easier to do that. And my hat's off to all of you, because all of you have done a great job. And don't stop just because you're getting a little praise. Continue that, because we need to continue looking for all the grants we can get. With that, I didn't see any problem. I think he's kept the council with some breathing room that can still go back and do some things if need to. I have no problem with the budget.
And Madam Mayor, I will note, just sort of kind of what Councilman Fowler was talking about is, we did set up that capital reserve fund, and as the things come off of that debt schedule, we're able to push that money, or what Dave would always say, plow that money into that reserve fund. So this budget does represent that, and try to continue to build that reserve fund. So when a capital expenditure comes up, maybe we didn't quite plan for a catastrophic failure of a piece of equipment, that's hopefully what we'll be able to rely upon. But yeah, growing that fund balance and, being plus 40%, on there, I think is a very solid number for this council to continue to grow upon. And again, this one was probably the biggest challenge, I think, in the last 3 or so years, and I think that's directly reflective of the economy and personnel costs. So we did our absolute best that we could. So.
I commend you again.
Jeremy, you have anything you want to add? You good?
I'm good. I just, like Buddy says, and I've said before, your department heads are the backbone of the town, and you did what our manager asked and what the council asked, because we don't want to do a tax increase, and we don't want to do other fee hikes, but sometimes it's necessary. So thank you again, each and every department head.
I would agree. Y'all did an outstanding job. Y'all been working on this for over 6 months.
Oh, yeah.
So thank you for all your hard work that you did. Thank you for all the hard work that your employees do as well. Today we will be doing employee appreciation lunch for all your hard work that you've done, and we look forward to a productive fiscal year next year. At this time, are you looking for a recommendation to?
Just a consensus to move it to public hearing. We will hold that public hearing at your regular meeting, and a budget ordinance, the actual ordinance, will go into your packet for consideration. And that ordinance is basically the large raw numbers assigned to these accounts.
Consensus?
Good.
All right, we're good. Kyle?
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Lunch is on me this afternoon. Let's see. I've got a departmental update to give you real quick for the work session. I'll move this over into your folder. I'll just kind of be brief with it. Jason, I don't know if you're able to. Oh, you already got it pulled up. We'll start with police department. Total calls for service in January, 465. Business checks, 2,407. Corporal Benson was announced as the Police Department Officer of the Year for 2022. So hats off to Corporal Benson and the hard work he does, and with ACE too, so he's got double duty there. Lieutenant Hauser graduated from the Coastal Plains Law Enforcement Management Institute, so congratulations to Lieutenant Hauser. He also attended grant writing workshops. Again, police department is also, they do get grants, governor safety and other avenues, so we appreciate another individual in that department that can work on that. And then Officer Wells was promoted to Police Officer 1. They're currently working and have actually finalized the drafts for the new and updated policies for hiring and recruiting, implementing the new hiring strategies. I'll be reviewing and giving the final sign-off on those. Continue to give away and promote the Operation Free Gun Lock program, onboarding of beach patrol interns. They attended the expo last month and then finalized their police budget. Here's a picture of lunch with the law. I believe the top picture on the left, bottom right, may be Amy's daughter over there, getting all wild at the middle school. Picture of Corporal Benson and just the good work they're doing in the community out there. Emergency management, they're working on the equipment for the VHF and UHF repeaters, out here working on the tower again yesterday. Completed the EOP rewrite and now is adopted, so we check that off the list. Closing out 2 additional projects, as I mentioned, related to Hurricane Florence. He's also developing the radio programming templates to reflect additional local system capacity and compliance with current state-mandated interoperable channel mapping, collaborating with IT on creating redundant wireless network from the municipal center to remote sites. And then he attended the spring conference in Cherokee, where he received the North Carolina Emergency Management Executive Level Emergency Management Manager Certification, which James was recognized at our last council meeting. Sorry, I got something in my throat. Fire department, it's the old engine 25, has returned to the body shop for some cab and body adjustments. It was put at the front of the line for the repairs, but they are unsure how long it will take. Once we get that, we can start looking at that surplus of the other vehicles. So looking forward to getting old engine 25 back, Chief. Chief Wilson attended the Eastern Carolina Firefighters Association meeting last week, where he sits on the board of this organization. During the meeting, Chief Wilson was elected to represent all Eastern North Carolina fire departments as the Eastern Director of the North Carolina Association of Fire Chiefs. So congratulations, Chief, or condolences, I guess I can say. Firefighter Van Pelt was recently promoted to Fire Lieutenant. Congratulations to him. Firefighter Chris Smith was recently promoted to Firefighter 2. And Deputy Chief Hobbs is working with the National Weather Service on a rip current observation and forecasting program. And then eventually they want to have some educational opportunities for our public in the near future on some of those elements to be safe within the waters of the Atlantic Ocean. Fire department has been working with the planning department to get the CAMA permits on the boat lift construction. We're waiting on the contractor to finish up his current job in the next few months and then move over to Surf City to complete our renovation of the boat lift project. Fire Marshal Burton has completed his fire level 3 certification requirements. The department now has 2 level 3 inspectors, which is good. Firefighter Meyer has completed his fire inspector level 1 certification requirements. Staff is currently working through all required annual equipment testing and maintenance. Department ladders have been tested and the staff is well on their way to completing hose testing. Air pack and pump testing are next on the list. Fire department will be holding their physical abilities test and interviews over the next few weeks as part of their hiring process. I understand we got a pretty big pool of applicants for that, 17, I believe. Is that right? All right. We had several qualified applicants. We're excited to see how they perform in those assessments. PRT, Parks, Recreation, and Tourism, so budget stuff has been completed. Updated lighting plans are completed and installed by Joe Mack. So that was at the Albury Park, at Kenny Batts and Soundside. So you'll be able to see that. Continue to meet with McAdams on the Earl G project. Continue to work with the regional consultant on acquired grants for Earl G. And Partif for Phase 2. The design build RFQ is out live. When are those due? Okay, so we should see those come in on the design build. I think we had Jody, James, and Chris all went to the grant writing workshop. Is that right? And Lieutenant Hauser. So we had 4 representatives at that grant writing workshop, Councilman Fowler, to hone their skills for future grant procurement. Jody just announced this morning that she has filled the recreation coordinator position, assisted in training new full-time staff members, finalizing bus driver for summer camp, thank the Lord. In the process of purchasing 2 activity buses. We got these at a good deal. We could buy the 2 new to us for cheaper than we could repair the older one. So we will have a bus that will be ready to be 2 buses ready to be surplused, and maybe get $1 or $2 back on those. Multiple maintenance projects are ongoing. Welcome Event Center seasonal weekend hours have started. Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We usually start that after Easter. And then Wildlife Resource Commission continues to work on the construction of the 2 public fishing accesses at the Surf City Community Center. I'm excited to see those today. I haven't personally been over there in a few weeks, so I'm excited to look at that. Summer camp. And Best Week Ever camp preparation is underway. The teacher workday camp in March was a success. And then, as you all know, we had to sort of modify the Easter egg hunt this year due to the horrendous inclement weather. And then on that note, I will announce the street sweep that was planned for tomorrow has been postponed. We will find a new date and get that published, but due to inclement weather, we're going to go ahead and push that back so we can make sure we get good participation. And then also DOT has been doing their spring litter sweep and hitting the primary roads, 50 and 210. I've seen them out there picking up trash, so that's good. Welcome new staff members, Tabitha Lanier, our Welcome and Event Center Coordinator, Amanda Heskin, our Special Events Supervisor, and Hunter Kossover, Recreation Program Supervisor. And then Stephanie Brown is our Recreation Coordinator, who will be starting Monday. She was part-time with... Very good. Here's some pictures of the Easter celebration indoors. Councilman Koloski, I saw you in a couple of these pictures. Thank you. Just the kiddos waiting outside in the rain. Here's some pictures of the fishing piers and new sidewalk for ADA accessibility over at the community center. So once again, good project. Beautiful overlook of that pond and beautiful overlook of future park facilities once we get into Phase 2 and beyond of the Earl G. So looking good out there. Big shout out to Publix, who came out and did a lot of work helping cleaning up the community center. And then we also installed a drinking water fountain at the disc golf course. So that was a project that's been completed to enhance the services for disc golfers. Committee reports, so just been updating the Parks and Rec and Tourism Advisory Committee on the Earl G, LWCF grant extension, and then the design build for the skate park project. Tourism promotion special events, working with the marketing consultant to update upcoming digital promotions. Talked about Easter egg hunt. Arbor Day celebration will be Friday, April 28th. And then Year of the Trail, this has been a statewide program, but specifically for Surf City, Saturday, April 29th, so next Saturday, the Pirate Treasure Hike at Soundside Park will happen at 11 a.m. So if you can't make it out there, hopefully the weather is good for that. So we've got plenty of programs going on, as you can see through all this, through whether it's sports or other recreation opportunities, but also we do have the National Day of Prayer coming up. We also have our Bridge Jam coming up. I saw the banners that were out yesterday promoting that event, so we got that looking forward to. Here's just an image of all the things that are going on, from Arbor Day to pickleball. So lots of stuff going on, Parks and Rec. IT, 3 new computer systems procured and issued, 4 5-year computer policy replacements, 1 new server installed and configured for the police department. Surveillance projects, I didn't put the pictures in here, I just didn't want to give away any of our secrets here, but Summit Utilities, parts order arrived, work scheduled for May. The community center, upgrades and improvements, but we also got some additional security out at Soundside Park. So we have some clear sight of what's going on, activity out there. So that should benefit us. Also for surveillance for camera for a safe zone. This is something that police department promotes for online trading or purchasing. We do promote that we do offer a safe zone for people to make those types of transactions stemming from places like Facebook Marketplace or wherever online kind of activities occur. So in the procurement phase for municipal tower, internet, fiber project, upgrade the network operations center aggregation switch, fiber optic move between remote offices, new router for facilities and grounds, cancel dialer phone lines as SCADA systems go online. So this is as we talked about these SCADA projects, we do have cost savings because we no longer have to have like the phone line out there. So that's a monthly savings that we see. Audio video computer and council room to be upgraded back there. HR, working with department heads to complete employee evaluations. HR conference last month. Working with finance on the salary budgets, bringing seasonal employees on board. This is, we're in the swing of hiring a lot of new seasonal employees. So camp counselors, facilities and grounds technicians, ocean rescue swimmers, beach patrol interns. So a little bit in multiple departments. And then continue to work with emergency management director on risk management program. Ongoing projects, reviewing personnel handbook, creating forms and processes on the NeoGov, reviewing, editing job descriptions, committee reports, the EAC, and then our spring fling event this afternoon at 1 o'clock over at the community center. And my understanding is that we'll have a food truck and maybe a game of kickball, I guess, this afternoon. So with that, Madam Mayor and Council, that is your departmental update, and we're going to start just for council's knowledge, and we're going to start pushing these quarterly update. So you all know where you can get the information, and I always appreciate the questions that you do ask. So.
And we're playing kickball, or you guys are playing kickball at your own risk.
I'm always spectator.
I didn't write any waivers.
You're not playing?
I got an appointment.
Yeah, sure.
I said that at the beginning before I even knew about the
You
kickball.
didn't even bring a note.
No.
Al, for that update, I did want to mention on the Arbor Day, which is next Friday.
Yeah.
It is also like a memorial for Nelva Alberry as well, that will be planting a tree in the Nelva Alberry Park in remembrance of her, and also dedicating one of our Surf City flags to her family. Does anyone else have?
On the 28th in that shredder, and
Is that the shredder event, 28th? 28th? Okay. Yeah, electronics recycling, which is sometimes hard to come by, so if the community has electronics out there that they need to recycle, keep them out of the landfill and dumpsters. And then also a shred event, so any other paper documents that you need shredded, you can come here to Town Hall. They'll have that set up, and I will give a shout out to the clerk because she was able to get the electronics recycling sponsored by the credit union, so.
Actually, Lydia did that,
Oh,
but yeah.
excuse
But
me.
they are sponsoring that.
Yep, thank you, Lydia.
Again, thank you to all of our department heads, our employees, Carla and Kyle. Really appreciate all your help. Thank you for sitting through this meeting. Man, she was here for the balloon ordinance, and it ended a long time ago, but she's been very patient and sat here, so we appreciate you being here today. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
All those in favor, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed, same sign. We are adjourned.